There remain a few tools in the draw menu that I'd like to introduce you to. Looking here at the drop down, I'll pin this in place. And what I want to call your attention to is this next sequence of buttons here across the top row. I'm going to start with what's called a construction line or guide line. These are lines in the geometric sense of the word. They have no end point. They're defined by 2 clicks or 2 coordinates. And so to start the command, I could click this button. It's called an X line. I could also type X line or simply XL enter, which is what I'm going to do here. It asked me for a base point. So I'm going to select a point on the screen. And then it asked me for a through point. Now you'll notice there's the line. It's following through my mouse. Any point I click, it will create a line through both the point that I started at and the point that I clicked on. To end the command, I'm going to hit escape. These lines are infinitely long. It doesn't matter how far back I zoom. I'll never get to the end of them. It's nice to use these for guidelines, but it's also better if they're precisely positioned. So let me talk to you for just a moment about how to precisely position these lines or any geometry on the screen. I'm going to start the command again, XL enter. This time I'm going to go through the origin, 0, 0, that's my first point. And again, it's waiting for the next input. If I wanted to create a slope that was exactly, say, 45 degrees, I could type in the coordinates, 2, 2, and that one-to-one relationship is now expressed in that 45-degree line. The other thing I could do is type a polar coordinate. The next point could be 10 angle 30. Enter. And it would create a 30-degree line. So that's 2 different ways to create the guidelines. Once by clicking, simply guessing at points. Another by starting at the origin and typing absolute coordinates. What if, however, we wanted to draw a guideline that was starting at a random point or a O-snap and ending at a specific slope or pitch? In order to illustrate this, let me draw a rectangle first. We'll say that's our little diagram of a cartoon house, and what I'd like to do is create a guideline for the roof pitch. So in this case, I could create a guideline, XL enter. My first point could be on the corner of the house, and my next point would be at 12, 4, enter, and I end up with a 412 pitch. If I wanted it to slope in the other direction, XL enter, click the other corner of my house, and my next point would want to be at negative 12, 4, enter. And I could see there I have a set of guidelines I could use to draw a simple elevation or include a roof pitch. The next command I want to show you is the divide command. And this will take a segment and divide it into a simple set of segments. It won't work on a guideline because those are infinitely long, but it will work on any other shape. I'm going to go ahead and start with a line. Now when we create a divide command, it's going to use a new type of object called a node to indicate the division points. So I want to adjust the point style of that node, or the way that the node is drawn. That is done by going into the Utilities menu and clicking Point Style. There are many, what do we have here, 20 different types of points we can use. By default, the one we get is a tiny dot. It would be covered up by any other piece of geometry on the screen. So it's not very effective because you can't see it. Alternatively, we have one that is completely not drawn. That doesn't help us either. I'm going to pick one here that's rather obnoxious. so we can find it. You'll notice that the point size is determined by a percentage relative to the screen size. And so it will change size depending on how close in you're zoomed in or how far back you're zoomed out and when you last regenerated. We'll play with that here in a moment, but pay attention to that 5% setting. I'm going to click OK so that my point style is set to that crosshairs. And then start the divide command. div, enter. It asks me to select the object here. Enter the number of segments. 6. Enter. And I can see now I have 5 nodes. Now why 5 nodes? Because 5 divisions gives us 6 objects. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now, like I said before, those points are 5% of the overall screen size. If I zoom back and don't regenerate, those objects get smaller. When I type RE, enter, to regenerate, you'll notice they're quite large. If I zoom back farther, they're smaller. If I regenerate RE, enter, they look large again. So that when I zoom in, they stay large until I do what? I regenerate RE, enter, and they look small again. They do print, so you can print these out if they're on a printable layer.